Hey Zoe.
Hey Lo, how's it going?
Very good.
Good.
Let's play the game of where in the world is
Today I am in San Jose, Costa Rica. I've
Zoe?
been in Costa Rica for about a month now. It's been really amazing, adventurous and healing and powerful. And yeah, coming into my last few days here.
Nice. Has it actually been a month?
Yeah, how wild.
That is wild. Oh my God. And next you're headed back to the States and then just all over. Like,
Yes.
like, don't you have another trip planned to Costa Rica before the year is over?
Um,
Or
Not before
Mexico?
yeah. Oh yeah, Mexico.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll be in
oh,
Mexico.
okay. Right. She's yeah, just like a different country every like 2, 3 weeks, basically. Anyways, I am excited for today's topic. We've been talking a lot lately about kind of bringing things back to the powerful basics when it comes to creating your reality, aligning with and allowing in your desires, because I think obviously, a topic like manifestation is very nuanced, and we've spoken to so much of that nuanced on the Lo and Zoe show, which I love. But I think it can also be really easy to get a little bit far away from just letting it be simpler. I don't know. It's like it's to me, manifestation is very simple, and there's a lot of nuance depending on the person. What would you say, Zoe?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's always powerful to revisit the basics. I know because we talk every day, we send voice notes back and forth. There's so much power in just coming back to a few of these main concepts. And for me, it always reminds me to get the human out of the way in ways and just remember, oh, okay, I have the power to create my reality. I am the creator of my reality. And in what ways am I not letting this be easy for myself right now? Or am I making it complicated and creating suffering in my own mind in ways?
Yeah, I think that's something we do a lot is we make it complicated. Like if it's feeling complicated, it's because we're putting conditions in the way. We're requiring a lot more of ourselves than is actually required in order to receive. And when things line up, like I right now, I've been sharing a lot with Zoe. I'm really in the process of getting kind of this next phase of my art business together, and it's like a physical product business. It's all about like really high quality art prints of my work, and so the learning curve and the research that has gone into figuring out what that looks like, because all I've really known for a long time is digital products and courses, like what Zoe and I do. Like on those topics, I know exactly what to do. um, Anyways, and for like months, I've been doing so much research. And it, like last Friday, a friend of mine said to me, when it's meant to be, it really is easy. And obviously, I know this, but just to be reminded of that. And then what happened in like the following like 3 days, 4 days since then, so much has just fallen into place. And a lot of it was things that like I didn't even really have to figure out. It's like as soon as I was just like trusting the process and coming back to the ease of it and allowing for it to look however it wants to look, it's like the right people showed up, the right companies that I want to work with, the right, like just the clarity and like, yeah. So it's like bringing it back to, letting it be easy, that like easeful receptivity where, yes, we are the creators, but what we always say in like Quantum Creators, our course, is that the universe is the divine orchestrator. And I think a lot of the time we forget that part and we think that we're not only the creator, but we're also the orchestrator and we're trying to do both. And that's where we get into trouble.
Yeah, and for me, the way that I pick up on this is a needing to figure out energy. It's like feeling like
Yes.
the responsibility is on me for me to like get my desires happening fast when it's like I mean, it's a powerful balance. You have to move through this journey to understand what it feels like for you individually. But for me, it's like when I catch myself meddling, this meddling energy where I'm feeling like I need to force myself to take actions or create a bunch of actions to take that don't necessarily feel aligned or like aligned actions. And I catch myself doing this in subtle ways sometimes, but just recognizing this energy of forcefulness, of graspiness, when the power as a creator comes from being very clear and direct and having that heart's desire of what you truly want and knowing what that is. And then almost taking a step back energetically when you catch yourself with that metally energy, reminding yourself that you are the creator of your reality and that the universe has your back. The universe knows your heart's desire because God, source, universe planted those on your heart anyways. And all you have to do is take care of your energy, right? On a day to day. It's very simple. And the next steps will always be granted.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah. So for the next couple of episodes, we're going to be giving some little tidbits in terms of kind of the top ways to really accelerate the arrival of your desires. And this is sort of being inspired by or led by something that we have to offer, a brand new free Low and Zoe training. We haven't done one in a long time. Do you want to tell our audience about what that is, Zoe?
Yes, this is called the Quantum Accelerator. And we're super excited about it because it's not just going to be about like, quantum creation. There's another aspect to it, which we're adding in basically everything that we've come to learn and putting it into, tidbits of it into this powerful training that we're going to be holding on Telegram. So it's an audio training, which means that if you can't make it live, you can re-listen to it very easily from your phone. And we're really going to be orienting you to create a space for your desires to come in at an accelerated rate. And I think it's the perfect time for this because we're coming to the end of the year. And for me personally, I always find at the end of the year, I'm always like hyper fixated on what did I learn this year? Did I achieve my goals or what I set out to achieve? And just really in almost like a reflective season. So it's going to be powerful. We're going to bring all of our Low and Zone magic to it. And yeah, anything else you want to add to that, Low, about what we're bringing?
Yeah, it is. There are certain aspects of it that we've certainly not talked about before when it comes to the quantum element of it, which, as Zoe said, there's a kind of like a whole nother perspective that we're taking on things because this isn't just about quantum creating, it's about accelerating. Like it's about really getting out of the way everything that holds back what we want. And we're doing it on Telegram, like Zoe said, because we did our divine mini mind, our divine magnetism mini mind. I think that was back in March on Telegram. And we just like forever since have been talking about how much we loved that setup. And it was a real like community that was created. And it was just really ease of access, but also ease of delivery for us. So if you were not in the mini mind, you want to experience that, or if you were and you want to re-experience it, we highly recommend that you join us inside. And yeah, so for these next couple of episodes, we're going to be talking about, like I said, kind of like one tidbit on each episode that is going to help you accelerate the arrival of your desires. And the first one is actually one that I know was inspired by Yuzo and some things that you've experienced in Costa Rica. And the first one is all about, well, maybe you can introduce it because I know that this is something that you've been really navigating yourself in these last couple of weeks. And I think this is like the number one reason why people either slow down the arrival of what they want or cease to have it happen at all.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so the power that you have as a creator, like it's all within you. But what I've noticed, especially in Costa Rica in the last like week or so too, which I can speak into a little bit more, is how sometimes we get too involved in the environment around us, or we allow the environment around us to almost pull power away. And what Dr. Joe, we love Dr. Joe, as we've spoken into his teachings many times. One thing that he always says is like, it's about becoming greater than your environment. So I'll give an example. So in the past week, I was volunteering like in the jungle in very like rural conditions, rainy season in Costa Rica, lots of bugs, lots of wild animals, lots of like things going on, and living in a dormitory with like 12 people or so, which is like I have been alone. I like spend the majority of my time alone, especially this year, like traveling alone. So what I found was like I was actually triggered by my environment in a multitude of ways, just by not having any privacy or not having personal space, to like getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, to being like wet and cold like in the jungle, et cetera, et cetera. And I was really understanding or integrated to a deeper level, this awareness that I've worked on of being a quantum creator, where it's actually like, even though I might have been navigating triggers, right? Navigating certain moods that like created for me. What I realized was like, none of this actually means that my desires aren't coming. So it was like, in that recognition itself, I created a lot of space for my desires to still come towards me, for me to still believe that they're happening, it's all unfolding. And those of you who have been in the Quantum Creators course can probably relate to like some aspects of your environment being the bridge of incidents. And so that is like, once you set an intention into reality, the ways in which reality is going to move and shift around you. And as human beings, we can actually get very involved in our environments and make that mean a multitude of things about us and about our desires and about what's possible for us.
I think honestly, this is like the biggest thing that we struggle with as creators, as people desiring to manifest our realities, is that we draw so many conclusions based on our realities around what is or is not happening for us. And I think what's quite interesting is like this last year of really building this new business. It's a business that I really feel I have my full belief behind. And so what's been interesting is not that it's necessarily been an instant manifestation. It has absolutely been a quantum leap, but not, it's really just, it's gaining full-time momentum right now and in the last couple of months. But the biggest difference is not that the thing manifested right away. It's that I haven't been like I've not been at victim in like a victim role towards my environment or towards what is or is not happening, because there is that belief. And I think everybody listening could probably find an area in their life where it doesn't really matter what's happening around you. You stay focused on where you're going and what you want regardless. But we have this tendency around things where we don't inherently have that level of confidence or just sort of identity that serves us. And so we end up looking at what's going on outside of us and saying it's not working, or the clients aren't coming, or I'm single AF, or like whatever it is. We're giving so much power to our environment. And when you speak, Zoe, to your environment in Costa Rica and not letting it mean things, I think like what you're really pointing at there is the emotions that it had you be in specifically. Like you were in anxiety about things, or you were in discomfort, and you didn't let it have you, or like for the first time, those that anxiety that you were in didn't mean things about what you were capable of creating. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. And it was like quite interesting because I mean, I was coming out of 2 iboga ceremonies and like, also dosing the medicine for a couple weeks prior and holding space in ceremony. So I was very much, before I went into the jungle, very much in this state where I felt deeply connected to my soul. I was very comfortable. I was very content. And when I went down to volunteer in the Osa Peninsula, it wasn't what I actually had expected I was going in towards. So there was like sort of the initial shock of like, oh, this isn't what I expected. I mean, still a very beautiful opportunity, which I was very grateful for. But there was sort of this initial shock, which I noticed like had my nervous system and my body react in ways where I was like, oh, I don't feel as comfortable, as warm, as safe as I just have been, or that I'm normally accustomed to or used to. And so, like when the nervous system, when the body is like triggered in those ways, it can and will most likely sponsor thoughts in the mind. So, like, thoughts in the mind was like, oh, I feel uncomfortable, or I wish I had like privacy, and like feeling uncomfortable. The Wi-Fi wasn't working and I had a couple of calls scheduled. I had to rearrange my schedule, and I personally never like to do that because I like to really hold, like, be professional, hold to things. But there was a bunch of environmental circumstances which were like triggering all these little facets of Zoe that I mean, it's all divine and all perfect because it actually was like what I needed to work through for my integration after the ceremonies, of course. But it was like in the awareness as a quantum creator that I realized that, you know what, it's okay. If I'm being triggered and this is like a nervous system reaction in ways because my body's not feeling comfortable, it's sponsoring thoughts in the mind. I am going to be the gentle observer of this, release the thoughts. They don't mean anything unless I go follow them down and perpetuate my suffering. I just decided like it's all still happening. I'm here for a week. I'm going to make the most of it. And none of this means anything like, because I'm, not feeling comfortable, I'm not feeling as abundant as I normally would, or as, let's say just like the ability to have a warm shower, like as clean, as tidy, as like polished as I normally do. So I wasn't feeling optimal, right, in my body. But I recognize that doesn't mean anything. My desires are on their way. Everything is still locked in and happening. Does that make sense, Lo? What I'm like speaking to is just really that awareness of being the gentle observer and knowing that my power of as being the creator already has an inertia to it, and it doesn't matter if I'm navigating emotions, moods, anxiety, or nervous system reactions.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And Zoe and I have a course called Imperfect and Prosperous. And this is really what we built it around, this not an idea, but this truth that you get to be imperfect and prosperous. You get to be perhaps in an environment that isn't leaving you in the emotional state that you might deem as being ideal for the receiving of your desires. But as long as you're not giving your power away to it, things still get to shift. Like, and I'm thinking of like some other sort of just very common desires, especially in all my time as a business coach. I've seen it over and over, and I've experienced it myself, where we can be working towards something that feels really good and we're super confident about it. It's going to go amazing. And then maybe it's like a course launch. I mean, I always said that launching online courses is like the best form of self-development out there, because you really have to look at your stuff. But you could be feeling amazing about it. You're like so confident that you're about to quantum leap your way into whatever, a $20,000 course launch for the first time. And then you open cart, and maybe you even get to day 3, day 4, day 5 of open cart, and you don't start to see the evidence of that state that you were in right before you opened cart. And what we're talking about is really, do you have the capacity to hold that space, hold that belief, hold that conviction about things, even if your reality doesn't reflect it or isn't supportive of it. And this isn't a perfectionism thing. It's not about holding a specific vibe, for ages and ages and ignoring your reality. It's about continuing to stay in an open state of receptivity and having that capacity to do so, regardless of what's going on around you. Because Zoe could have closed herself off and said, nothing magical is going to happen to me here, or I'm like, whatever. And I know a whole bunch of things shifted for you, Zoe, while you were there, that allowed things to just become more favorable in terms of circumstances. And I know that you were also like, certain things were happening in your business that you'd set intentions for and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that really what this comes down to is, how much of our power are we giving to our external circumstances and our environment? Because if we can cultivate the ability to not do that anymore, that's where we really start to receive things, and we receive them quickly and a lot easier, because we're not closing ourselves off, right? Quantum creation or quantum leaps, manifestation, it's all about staying open and not, what I often say is, I've received in abundance, not when I have full conviction, but when I'm not contradicting, I was going to say, not being contradictory to my desires. I'm not contradicting them in my thoughts. I'm not closing myself off to them. And it is so easy, especially in today's world, to want the abundance, but to constantly contradict it by looking at our bank account and making it mean that we're never going to get out of the space that we're in, or to want the relationship, but to look at our past relationships and decide that what we want isn't available because we only have evidence to the contrary. And it's like, what do we need to let go of simply to not contradict with our thoughts, with our emotions for long periods of time? And that's one of the things we're really going to dive into specifically in day 2 of the Quantum Accelerator. We're really going to talk about why we do this from a very biological standpoint, because what a lot of people don't teach when it comes to manifestation is that so many of these habitual ways of thinking and feeling are unconscious or involuntary. Like our nervous systems, our minds, our bodies are actually set up to close themselves off, to stop believing when it doesn't look like it's happening. We're very programmed, and for a lot of the time for good reason, to be very outward focused. And so it's really kind of seeing yourself from a different perspective, seeing manifestation through the lens of what the science says, so that we can actually make these shifts internally and thus externally, rather than just kind of bypassing yourself and telling yourself, well, like, I'm going to just ignore reality because we're telling you, don't give too much energy and emotion to reality. But we're not trying to tell you to do the impossible and stop being human. We're actually going to explain to you the science behind this and what this actually looks like, to just have that power to say, you know what, regardless of the fact that, say, I'm calling in money, but I just got this crazy unexpected bill, I'm not going to now allow that to dictate what's in my field and what I'm creating in the quantum. And instead, I have the tools and the ability to keep myself open, to not contradict, and therefore accelerate the arrival of my desires.
Yes, yes, beautifully said, Lo. And the way that I can that comes to me to like simplify this is just, it's about harnessing your power, knowing your power, and not letting it leak out in ways. Like really cleaning that up. Like Lo said, if you get an unexpected bill, don't let your energy leak out and like decide that that means that that's not happening, right? You're still so incredibly powerful. That's just a part of the bridge of incidents. And in fact, when you can actually move through situations that used to create let's say an anxious reaction in the body, and you can begin to regulate yourself and navigate that with ease, you remain in that state of openness. And in that state of openness, you are such a magnet for your desires. You are holding space for those things to not just come into your reality, but come in and stay and be newly integrated ways of being and who you are. And to give kind of the example of like when I was in the jungle and I was like all, triggered by my environment, was, I mean, there was a multitude of things that I learned specifically, but one of the things that I'm manifesting is a home for myself. And so if I was in this very uncomfortable living situation for a week, right? Like it was triggering all sorts of things. And like if we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like shelter and like, going pee in the middle of the night, I had to like go through the jungle and stuff like that alone, and not having a flashlight and things like that. Like it was triggering on those levels. It brought clarity to what was really important for me. And I decided that because I was so clear, and this was really highlighting to me how important it is to have a home base, like coming up soon in my reality, let's say, where I feel safe, where I feel warm, where I feel nurtured. This actually all gets to mean that that's on its way to me. And I'm not going to let my energy leak out, as in, I'm not going to complain so much about this. I'm not going to flood my energy so much about this. I'm going to keep my energy inside me, remembering who I am and knowing that I'm moving forward and everything is actually working in my favor. Everything's aligning me with my desires in the next manifestation.
What you're saying there is like our true access to our personal power. It's not only having favorable things happen, it's having the ability to decide what we make things mean, the story we get to tell about things, that gives us our power or takes it away.
Yeah.
100%. It's
Mm-hmm.
really just, how am I choosing to relate to what's going on around me, to where I'm at, to what's showing up in my reality right now. Because if you can be someone who works with your brain, your body, your nervous system to really decide how you relate to things, like there's no stopping to what you can create, because you can hold the vision and hold the belief in that thing that you're calling in without, constantly questioning it or without deciding that it isn't happening. Because I mean, Zoe and I get questions on our live streams and in our courses all the time. Like, I did all the things right around this manifestation that I wanted. Why didn't it come? And every single time we say, because you just said that it didn't come. You just decided that it didn't work for you, even though it might have been one of those scenarios where, that meme you see where a guy he's like drilling or whatever for diamonds, and he's literally 2 inches away, but he decides to turn around and go back because it isn't happening. And yeah, so I really think like that's just the number one thing. And I mean, Zoe and I still do this at times, but I know that with what we have focused on and taught, especially in the last year, and our focus in like our divinity mastermind and our imperfect and prosperous program, and a lot of what we're going to share inside the accelerator, we both have this ability to say, you know what, regardless of this thing happening outside of me here, I'm choosing this. And in that space, a lot has been able to shift, more of which we'll share inside the accelerator.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so powerful. And it's like once you lock these concepts in, it's a new reality for you. You feel more empowered. You know how to get yourself back to that state of empowerment, how to return yourself back to love, how to return yourself back to self-belief and trust. And it's a whole different reality.
Yeah. Yeah, so we are going to link for you guys down below the sign up for the accelerator. It is on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of November. And we would love to have you guys inside.
Love you guys. See
Bye.
you there.
Thank you guys so much for spending a piece of your day with us and tuning in to the Lo and Zoe Show.
If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to rate it and share on social media. Be sure to tag us.
Until next time,
stay abundant.